Sometimes the smallest act of kindness changes a life forever. It might be a smile from a stranger, a note tucked into your hand, or even a quiet moment of listening when the world feels too heavy. Today, I want to share one such story with you. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe and share. Together, we can spread kindness and hope in small ways. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of night when time moves slowly. The rain had just started outside, soft but steady, tapping against the window of a small-town diner. Inside, the lights were dim, the booths were worn, and the smell of fresh coffee hung in the air. Emily, a young mother working the late shift, wiped down the counter. Her eyes were tired and her hands ached, but she kept going. Her daughter Lily was at home asleep. Emily was doing everything she could to keep their little world together. Bills were overdue, the car barely ran, and hospital debts pressed on her chest like a heavy stone. Still, she smiled for the customers who came in, because that was her way, carrying pain quietly, but with grace. That night, only one man walked through the door. He was tall, wearing a black beanie and a jacket that had seen better days. He slid into the booth farthest from the window and asked softly for just a coffee. Emily brought him the cup. His eyes met hers. They were deep, gentle, and full of stories unsaid. Something about him felt familiar, but she couldn't place it. She didn't ask. Instead, she did what she always did, offered warmth in the form of hot coffee and quiet kindness. The diner was almost empty. Just Emily behind the counter, the man in the corner booth, and the soft hum of an old ceiling fan. The radio in the kitchen played a slow blues tune, crackling with age. Emily poured more coffee without being asked. The man gave her a small nod, the kind that said thank you without words. She noticed how he didn't rush. Most late-night customers wanted food fast, then left. But this man simply sat, hands wrapped around the mug, as if the warmth itself was enough. After a few minutes, he looked up. "Busy night?" he asked softly. Emily gave a short laugh. "Not really. Just you and me and the cook in the back. Tuesdays are always quiet." The man smiled gently. "Quiet can be good. Sometimes it's what we need most." Something about his voice put her at ease. She found herself leaning on the counter, talking more than she usually did with strangers. She told him little pieces of her story, that she was studying part-time, that she worked nights to keep the bills paid, that her daughter loved to draw, but art lessons were too expensive. The man didn't interrupt. He didn't pity her either. He just listened, and that felt rare. When she finally paused, embarrassed for saying too much, he simply nodded. "Sounds like you're doing everything you can. That matters more than you know." His words sank deep, like medicine for a tired heart. Emily felt lighter just for a moment. The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. Outside, the drizzle turned into fog, wrapping the street in silence. Inside the diner, the man finished his coffee and set the mug down carefully, almost as if he didn't want to disturb the moment. Emily brought him the check, smiling politely. He nodded, pulled a small notebook from his jacket and scribbled something quickly. Then he placed the folded paper under the plate, tucked the receipt inside and stood. "You've been kind," he said, his voice low but steady. "It's just coffee," Emily replied, brushing it off. "Sometimes coffee and kindness are exactly what's needed," he answered with a faint smile. And then he was gone, the bell above the door jingling softly as he slipped into the night. Emily cleared the table a few minutes later. She reached for the plate, then froze. Her eyes landed on the numbers written on the tip line. At first, she thought she had read it wrong. She rubbed her eyes and looked again. 5, 0, 0, 0, 0. $50,000. Her knees nearly gave out. Her hands shook as she clutched the receipt. Beside the number, there was a note written in neat, careful letters. "For your daughter. Keep her dreaming." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. She gripped the counter to steady herself. The world felt like it had tilted, as if something impossible had just happened in her tiny, quiet diner. She unfolded the paper left beneath the plate. It was a sketch of a little girl holding a star above her head. Underneath, one line was written, "Don't let the world make her small." Emily covered her mouth to stifle a sob. The cook stepped out of the kitchen, startled by the look on her face. When she showed him the receipt, his eyes widened. "Is that real?" he whispered. Emily nodded slowly, unable to speak. Her heart told her what her eyes already knew. It had been him. Keanu Reeves. Emily worked the rest of her shift in a daze. She moved through the motions, pouring coffee, wiping tables, balancing the register. But her mind was far away, fixed on that receipt. Could it really be true? Would the bank even believe it? The next morning, with trembling hands, she walked into the bank and showed the manager the slip. At first, the teller blinked at the amount, thinking it was a mistake. But after a long phone call and several checks, the manager confirmed it. The money was real. The transaction had cleared. Emily stepped outside, standing on the sidewalk as sunlight broke through the morning fog. For years, she had lived under the weight of hospital bills, late rent notices, and the constant fear of losing everything. And now, suddenly that weight was gone. She didn't rush to spend the money. She didn't tell everyone she knew. Instead, she went home, woke up Lily, and told her something wonderful had happened. That night, they went out for ice cream, something Emily usually said no to because every dollar mattered. They sat together at the park, laughing, swinging, breathing. For the first time in years, Emily wasn't calculating bills in her head. She was simply present. Over the next week, Emily used the money carefully. She paid off the last of Lily's hospital bills. She fixed their old car so she wouldn't have to pray each time she drove it. She bought a new laptop so she could finish her classes without borrowing one from the library. And most importantly, she signed Lily up for the art program she had always dreamed of. Every night, Emily would look at the folded sketch, the little girl holding the star, and repeat the words, "Don't let the world make her small." And so, she didn't. She encouraged Lily to draw every day, to chase her imagination without limits. Emily herself began to feel something she hadn't in a long time: hope. A few weeks passed. News of the mysterious tip began to spread quietly in the town. Some reporters tried to follow the story, but Emily avoided them. She knew the man hadn't done it for attention, and she wanted to honor that. Then one afternoon, while she was working another shift at the diner, a man in a gray suit came through the door. He wasn't a reporter, and he didn't order food. Instead, he walked up to the counter, asked for Emily by name, and handed her a small envelope. "This is for you," he said simply. Then he left. Emily held the envelope in trembling hands. Inside was a carefully folded letter. The handwriting was neat, almost deliberate, as if every word mattered. At the bottom, there was a signature that confirmed what her heart already knew. The letter read, "Emily, when I was a teenager, my family went through a very dark time. We lost someone close to us. My mother worked 2 jobs just to keep my sister and me safe. She wore herself thin, and we nearly lost everything. One day, a stranger stepped in and paid our rent. We never learned who it was. We never could repay them. But I never forgot. Your daughter reminded me of my sister. Her bright eyes, her strong spirit. I saw her drawing on that receipt. That kind of imagination should never be lost. So this isn't charity. It's just a small push from someone who knows what it feels like to need one. Don't let the world make her small. Don't let it make you small either. Keanu." Emily pressed the letter to her chest as tears streamed down her face. She sat in the break room for nearly half an hour, overwhelmed by the kindness of someone who didn't owe her anything, yet saw her, truly saw her, in a way so few people ever had. After that day, Emily's life never felt the same. Not just because her bills were finally cleared or because Lily had art lessons waiting for her. It was because someone reminded her, deeply, quietly, that kindness still lived in the world. She carried that letter in her purse everywhere she went. On the hardest days, she would unfold it, trace the words with her finger, and feel her heart steady again. At home, she encouraged Lily to dream bigger. They watched animated films together, drew pictures on napkins, and talked about the future with laughter instead of fear. Emily herself even started writing again, Little short stories, pieces of her heart she had long tucked away. The diner, once just a job, now felt like a place of hope. Every time she wiped down the counter or poured coffee, she remembered the man in the beanie. And she paid it forward in small ways, refilling someone's cup before they asked, listening when a customer needed to talk, offering a smile to someone who looked lonely. She realized something powerful. You don't need $50,000 to change a life. Sometimes it's just listening. Sometimes it's saying, "You matter." Sometimes it's giving a child the space to dream. Keanu Reeves walked away without asking for thanks, without cameras, without recognition. But he left behind something stronger than fame, a legacy of compassion. A reminder that the quietest gestures often echo the loudest in our hearts. So, as Emily sat one night watching her daughter sketch stars and moons in her notebook, she whispered to herself, "Kindness doesn't need an audience. It just needs intention." And in that moment, she knew. The story wasn't about her struggle anymore. It was about passing that light forward, one quiet act at a time.